when there's life, there's hope. So we do have Pastor Femi Faseru. He will be joining us. He's a resident pastor for KICC Maryland in Lagos. He will be joining us from our studios right there to at least several people have several things you may have outlined, how you intend to proceed for the year, irrespective of this message, which you expected, or Kayla expected, a broadcast of sorts.
You didn't expect a broadcast? Come on,
well, I just expected different things so that my hopes would not be dashed.
I know.
I'm not surprised that it was a statement. So you see that your hopes is...
now I'm hurt.
Compared to my hope. So there you go. But at the same time, I mean, yes, so many people were out yesterday. Everyone, at least if you're alive this morning, you should be grateful that, yes, I'm alive today, and then I plan to move on. So good morning, Pastor Faseru. Thank you for joining us on the program, and Happy New Year to you today.
Good morning. Happy New Year, Chamberlain. Good to see your face.
Yes, good to be back. I personally have to thank God as well, I mean, for seeing another day today. It's fantastic. So every day people take for granted. It's a miraculous thing to wake up and see the day. So let me start by asking you, I mean, 2026, in spite of what might have happened last year, so getting into this year, what's your mindset as you proceed?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. The audio went off.
Okay, so talk to us about your mindset, especially when you compare to or taking into cognizance what the country went through last year. Perhaps if you could personalize it now, what's your mindset as you at least get into this year?
Yeah, Chamberlain, I think we ought to be grateful to God that we have this opportunity, you know, to be alive today and to see a brand new year. A brand new year is an opportunity for us to achieve the things that we wanted to achieve, which we couldn't achieve. So I think we need to derive energy from the hope that that gives. So the mindset is that this is an opportunity yet again given to us by the Almighty God to be able to strive, to be able to achieve the things that we desire to achieve, to be able to do the things that we love to do. It's an opportunity. It's a brand new opportunity. It's a time for us to correct the things that we did wrong, for us to sharpen ourselves, be smarter, correct our wrong ways, and we ought to be hopeful, you know, that what we couldn't achieve before, we are able to achieve it now this year. So it's a privilege, because not everyone has that privilege. So it's a privilege, and we have to take the best of it.
Well, there's a statement that was released by the president's spokesman, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, about the president's message, his expectations, what he thought we achieved, how we intend to proceed this year, 2026. He ended up by calling for unity. So when these kind of statements come through, I mean, you interact on a regular basis with persons, everyone who's dealing with one thing or the other in the economy, in different aspects of their lives. So when these kind of narratives, these statements come through from our leaders, how do they relate or connect the dots? Does it actually make an impact in their lives? Does it reflect the reality of their lives, or are they usually just somewhat removed from some of these messages, as it were?
I think because of the experiences of Nigerians in the past, I think a lot of people have not given much attention to presidential statements, particularly when it comes from politicians, because sometimes they're full of promises without them having the mind, you know, to pursue it and keep their promises. But however, I need to say that I think I'm a fan of this presidency in this regard, in this aspect, because if you look at the broadcast of the president last year, there are certain things that he promised. For example, he promised the stability of Forex. somehow we can say that the forex is being stable in 2025. He spoke about the reduction, if I recollect clearly. He spoke about reduction of the inflation rate from 34% or something like that to 14%. I think the other day I heard that the inflation rate is about 14.5%. So with this kind of presidency, who makes a statement and pursues it, I think that we need to take whatever he's saying seriously. Also, it helps us, to pay attention to it so that we can hold the government accountable, for their promises. One of the challenges of our nation is that people promise and do not keep their promise and they get away with it. And I think the narrative should change, but that depends on how we hold them accountable for it. So I think all of us should take the statement of the president seriously. We need to look at it. If it's not enough for us, we need to speak out. If there are certain things that he needs to cover that he did not cover, we need to speak up. And then for him to elaborate, add to it, or tell us what he wants to do. He needs to make his vision clear to us. I know that we all expected that he would sit before a screen and he would make a broadcast. But within the broadcast will have been these statements that he had relayed in this statement he issued out. And I think pretty much some of the things I expected him to talk about in terms of the economy, in terms of the security, in terms of development, particularly youth development, I think he touched on it more or less.
Pastor Femi, what's your message to the body of Christ and to the Nigerian people right now? Because, as we're entering 2026, like me and Chamberlain were saying earlier, politics is on everybody's mind. The politicking has started in earnest. It's not even waiting for anyone. So it's going to be a year with a lot of mudslinging, a lot of back and forth, a lot of fights, a lot of toxicity, especially in the news. So how do you talk to people right now about how they should conduct themselves in a year like the one we're in now?
Thank you, Kela. Firstly, I'd like to say that the politicians, like you said, they are going to be trying to survive politically. They will be pursuing their interest as hard as they can. But I would like the people to not be distracted by all of that. We have to have our own personal vision for the year. Otherwise, we're just going to be distracted by the kind of news that we watch, we listen to, and at the end of the year, we don't want to be left without. So my appeal is to say to everyone, you must have your own personal vision for this year. This year is a gift to you by God, and it's a personal gift to you. So you need to have your own vision. You need to know what are the things that you want to achieve. You need to find out what the giver of the gift will want you to achieve in this year. You need to find the templates. You need to find, the method. You need to be clear about your own dream and write it down. And also, particularly with the distraction of politicking, there will be pain that will come before you be able to achieve the gain of your vision. So I will advise you, be ready for mental pain. You need to be creative. The world we live in right now is not a linear world. It's very dynamic. So there is need for creativity. And that is going to that's going to challenge your mind. Be ready, to be able to challenge your mind, for you to be able to be creative. This year, you need to be able to withstand emotional pain. There will be certain things that will just want to work against your vision. It could be government policy. While Nigeria is being worked on, the president already told us a couple of years ago that we should be ready to go through some challenging times. That again is going to come pretty soon. And I don't think that the challenging times are over. I think it's still on. So we need to be ready for that. So you need to have your personal vision. You need to be ready to pursue it and not be distracted by the politicking that will be going on.
I was grinning because at the time you said certain things or policies may challenge different people at different times. And the thought that came to my mind was, well, one thing that will challenge at least a lot of people will be this new tax policy. It will challenge our pockets, our finances in different ways. And people initially may not know how to react to it because already there are people who are still very angry with this policy in terms of what it entails, how they will be charged, and they have a huge expectation as to what they expect this monies to be used for. What would your advice be to such people now?
Firstly, I think we need to study carefully the information that is coming to us on this tax reform. My understanding is that the tax reform favors majority of the masses in Nigeria. The tax reform favors the low earners for sure. So their take home will be a lot better than it was. That's my understanding. And then also, I also believe that there are certain things that have been questionable to me personally. You wonder how, as a business, you will pay VAT, value-added tax, on some things, and then also in your own, at the same time, you pay buying and you pay selling. And I think that is being corrected. I've wondered, for a couple of years now, what's happening to the withholding tax, that businesses are collecting for the government. Should it not be, when it's time for the company to pay its own tax, should it not be deducted? That wasn't in the mainstream before. That's coming to the mainstream right now. So whatever it is that you have in your account that you have put in there, you gave service to somebody, they withhold a certain percentage of your money, it counts as part of your tax at the end of the day. So there is a good reconciliation within the reform. So I see a lot of positive things. I see a lot of good things with the reform as far as the reform is concerned. But then the big question also is, how is the government going to justify, the usage of taxes that they are going to be getting, and they've been getting. So we need to, of course, ensure that there is enough pressure on the government to make sure that their spendings is something that directly impacts, positively the quality of life of an ordinary man on the streets. I think that is key. And I have no doubt in my mind that this presidency is geared towards that. It's quite impressive for me to see that the presidency withdrew the VIP police, because a few within the nation is enjoying a certain level of protection and security, where we are saying that we don't have enough policemen in service. But then that's been corrected. So that is encouraging for me to see that we have a government that is putting on the front burner the interest of the masses.
Well, there'll be, I'm sure, a lot more questions when it's already 1st of January anyway. By the time people start experiencing and understanding how all of these things will apply, they need to make themselves available for explanations, because there will be several questions about this matter. Well, we have to thank you for coming on this morning, Pastor Femi Faseru, resident pastor of KICC, Maryland. Thank you, and Happy New Year. But we're definitely going to get back to you much later this year to get a lot more perspective when some of these policies kick in.
Thank you very much, Chamberlain. Thank you, Kela. Have a good year.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
All right, so we will be back in a moment. Stay on with us.